morning, everyone. This is Rachna here from the Graduate Student Association of the University of Melbourne. I'm the CEO of the organization, and I am delighted to join you once again on Tuesday morning after a long weekend, an eventful weekend, to discuss some strategies to deal with the exam stress management. And along with me, I have Tevita Lusuma, the General Manager for Student Engagement. Welcome, Tevita.
Good morning, Rachna.
So what a big weekend we've had. And a little more before we talk about that, let me acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from where I am broadcasting, the land of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and pay my respect to past, present, and the emerging leaders and the Aboriginal people and the Torres Strait Islanders. So, Tevita, a big weekend after we had the Black Lives Matters protest on Saturday, and very emotional. You know, it was a great moment for us to stand in solidarity with the organizers of the movement. And you know, it was fantastic to know that people have gathered in major cities across Australia, like demanding justice over the minority deaths that happen in police custody, and in solidarity with the Black Lives Matters movement. I don't know where you were, but Tevita, where I was watching, I could kind of see a sea of humanity, you know, and all maintaining good social distancing, trying their very best with their family and friends to actually be able to provide a unified message to our brothers and sisters in the Indigenous community that, you know, there will not be any further tolerance to this, you know, the unacceptable violence to our Indigenous community, particularly when they are in police custody. And I think the most moving thing, what I saw was really a 5-year-old holding a banner which says, "Stop Black deaths in custody. I need my dad and uncle forever," which I thought was an extremely moving poster. So how was your weekend, Tevita?
Oh, look, it was, I mean, much like yourself, it was a lot of time for reflection, I think. And sort of, think about the current events around the world, especially here at home. I think it's, you know, it was nice to be recognizing the things that are happening here in Australia, as well as around the world. So I think, yeah, the time for reflection was much needed. And yeah, it was very moving to see the you know, tens of thousands of people that came out just to show their support, and that, you know, it's something we should be talking about more.
Yeah, and the peaceful protest, you know, it was not.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
I think that recognition that is there. And I mean, we have to recognize that change needs to happen in our society. And I mean, it only happens that we at our grassroots level and each member of the community, and particularly being a member of the university's, you know, movement, that we have the power to break that change. And I think we shouldn't be letting generations after generations see this happening again. And I think unless we come together and say that, you know, I don't want this to happen anymore, and I want this to change, and the unified, you know, campaign that we all kind of want to stand in solidarity and fight against is the only way that this will happen. So thank you to everyone from GSA who participated in the rally, as well as you know, our family, our friends, and the community. And a big month coming up for our graduates are here. You know, some of them have already started their exams in some faculties. I think the medical school already had an exam that was on Friday. but then we also have other graduates who will be preparing for their exams or their assignment just before the semester one break. And not to forget that we had a very eventful AGM, and GSA has, after wonderful work done by our council staff and the lawyers who supported us in drafting the new constitution, and our membership who proactively supported and provided feedback, and our stakeholders who gave us some constructive feedback, that 95% of the people who were present at the AGM voted for the constitution. So well done, GSA, and welcome to all the new the council members. And we'll be probably having a session quite soon to talk about our new leadership and their vision. So today we have exam stress management. And Tevita, how did you always feel during exams?
Oh, look, it's probably, personally, it's probably one of the most dreaded times I had during my schooling. I think in any level, being it high school or your undergrad or your postgrad, I think the anxiety and the stress is, for me, was always about, did I listen? Did I learn? Did I, what's, it's like a big question mark about what are they going to test me on? And I think sometimes the thoughts about it can overwhelm you when you're actually, you have been listening, you have been learning, and you're going to prepare yourself. So I think overcoming some of those thoughts was my process a bit. But yeah, exam time was always the dreaded time of the calendar for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's probably right from a very young age, or as we go through school and university, I think it's a kind of moment as students when we're learning, we feel this pressure of being judged. How much did you learn, how good you are. And when such people spend, there's always a process of being judged, being assessed. It's pretty stressful. So exams are pretty always stressful, and it's just that different people have different mechanisms to manage with that stress. And it also is how you handle stress. I mean, last week we spoke about all the strategies to manage stress management, but this week I think it's really a message from you and me when we put this together about recognizing that exams bring in that stress element. It's normal, it's understandable. It's not because you can't cope or you are not a good graduate student. It's about it's normal in the cycle of learning. And I think today's discussion is mainly about recognition of that stress, and then going back to our fundamental strategies that we should use to manage stress. So I think people feel, if I know my matter really well and I have extensive notes, you'll feel, or I'm not, if I'm going to take it very lightly, I'm not going to be stressed. But I think I think that these are factors that support you. But what happens is, the factors that don't support you is you don't have a plan on how you're going to get the content that you need to prepare for the exam organized with some good planning. And you're always so nervous about what's going to happen on the day of the exam, and you don't seek help to manage with that stress. That's when you're going to land ourselves. I think we land ourselves in trouble. I've noticed that if people have exam anxiety, so like we spoke about last time, if you recognize it and you are able to take the proper support if you require from people, or develop the strategies to deal with it, then you can prepare well for the content for the exam. Look at even talking to your general practitioner, taking some counseling, talking to family and friends of how you managed a balanced life during the preparation time, eating well, sleeping, trying to socialize, having a good balance between studying and physical activities, all the strategies we spoke about last week. I think they come back. They will always come to support you.
Mm.
But I think recognizing that there is stress is the first step of it.
Yep.
For me, I think when you recognize I am anxious, or I'm not dealing with something properly, that actually is the beginning of a solution to a problem. Otherwise, I think just pretending, oh, I'm just going to I'll deal with it on that day. It's going to be fine. And, I'm just going to bury it under it's not going to work that way. So I think, as I said, is recognizing and accepting is the most useful part in stress management, and particularly during exams. Okay. I think one of the things, Tevita, I've heard about people doing is, you do your academic year, your 11 or 12 weeks, and then suddenly you get so stressed that you decide, invariably you fall sick, or you decide to defer at the last moment, losing all your fees, or you kind of distract yourself and you're trying not to focus on your studies and get involved in anything and everything that is not important at that time, is one coping mechanism for people who don't want to accept that exams are a stressful period and you need planning. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. The planning part, I mean, it's really, it's almost one of those things that some people actually get stressed out about the planning. And I think, yeah, firstly, you talked about, you need to recognize that it is a process, and then, there's a start and there's an end. And I think, yeah, pulling together, setting up those goals to get things done. And we talked about it last week with time management. Is trying to make sure that everything's in place so that it gives you that headspace to be able to open yourself up to revision and the other study needed. So yeah, it's interesting, but it can't stress enough about the planning, because and look, there's different ways, and we'll talk about later in the presentation about helping with planning. But yeah, it's definitely something you need to do.
Yeah, and I think the most important part of it is that it would be great to kind of have a system where you are saying that, I just want to learn. I don't want to be part of an exam. That's not going to happen. In some of your courses, you have assessments, some of you have written presentations, there is some mechanism of assessing you. And so you have to do the exams. And as Tevita said, is take the trouble to plan. And when you plan, you're planning not only of, what's the content I need to cover. It's about also asking yourself, how do I manage my life during this period of time? How am I going to manage my friends and family during this time? How, some of you who are working, how am I going to take the time off from work or manage my work and study at this period of time? How am I going to deal, and particularly during this period where we're just coming out from, social isolation, there's this pressure to kind of meet up with everyone through the social distancing regime, is that, that pressure has started already filling in. I've noticed on Friday night already people talking to me about the stress that they had the weekend, because they were meeting friends on Friday, they were meeting friends on Saturday, they were meeting friends on Sunday. And, suddenly you're in this period where you didn't have many social activities and you were leading your life for 12 to 13 weeks. And suddenly you're in a phase where meeting everybody is very, very important. And I think just taking that time to plan is very, very important. I think the next one is, I have heard of people saying, you start off anything which says, oh my God, it's going to be such a hassle. I think that is a block. Have you experienced that? Like when you start off with something which says in your thought process, oh my God, it's going to be a hassle, I think that is always a block. I have experienced that.
Yeah, absolutely.
On it?
Yeah, look, it's just that mindset, isn't it? It's basically, as soon as it's a negative thought, if you turn it into a negative, it will stay like that and it can fester. I mean, I think it adds to the whole situation, because it's, you know, as you said, it becomes this blockage for you basically doing the things or planning to get things done ready for this. I mean, if you're treating it as a hassle, it's something you don't want to deal with. I think that's where it probably starts.
I mean, I'd love to share an example of mine, Tevita. I think it was in my master's, you know, one of my subjects in public policy was actually doing statistical analysis, okay? So, and it was, you know, I don't come from the number field, so it was a lot of looking at Excel files and being able to look at numbers and analyze, you know, what the population needs were, what were some of the policies that aligned to those needs. Now, the theory part of it, I knew the rationale and the analysis, but I had just fear of numbers and Excel spreadsheet. And I think for me, I found this just preparing for that exam, or, you know, I think it was a 2-hour open exam, book exam. I just never got to doing that very early in my, you know, normally I love planning. And I found that the biggest hassle of doing it was actually getting over this fear that this is a subject that I am going to do badly, instead of feeling this is a subject where I need to pay attention. It's something that I may just need to take some motivation or support from my class, you know, the people who attend the same lectures with me, or people who have done this subject. Instead of doing that, I just had this block. And then the pressure built up to such an extent. And I found that I was actually unnecessarily stressing till somebody came along and say, I'm happy to spend a couple of hours with you to just see how I've gone about studying this. And it just, I think it was just me having that block. And I think that's where you know, when you accept it, that, hey, my brain has difficulty understanding these concepts. And, you know, I can't kind of try and cramp things that are difficult to me in a short period of time and try and push everything into my brain. It's going to be difficult. I actually need to be relaxed to understand difficult concepts, and trying to understand that itself helps. Because when you are stressed, obviously, like we've spoken about last week, there are physical symptoms that happen. You know, you get exhausted, you're angry, you're annoyed, your mood swings, you fall physically unwell, and that's actually going to hinder your preparation of exam. So I understand, Tevita, that during the exam period, you have some activities like that help people to kind of support with, you know, meditation and other things. Do you want to talk about that a little bit at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as GSA runs through the SWOT back of the next 3 weeks of exams, we are actively promoting meditation sessions and working with our grad group, Meditate. So check our Facebook page for the times and days, but we're trying to do at least 3 sessions a week to support students with meditation and calmness, as well as other opportunities for social connectedness. We have some fun, not onerous social aspects of our online engagement. So again, Facebook is the best way to look at that. And then we're going to be starting to support our students through academic skill support and managing through stress during this time as well.
That's fantastic. And I think when you're tackling exams, we're talking about a whole lot of things, you know, like, I mean, one of the things that I like to talk a little bit about is actually planning your life at home, you know, ensuring that you have planned meals, you are, you know, managing your exercising in that, looking after your health and well-being, and particularly during winter months, ensuring that if you have issues that are related to your housing or financials and other things, that recognizing that and taking some help is always a very good thing. You know, start with yourself and then start thinking of, if you're a parent, or, you know, if you are living with your partner and other things, communicating to them about what this period actually means to you. If you are sharing your house with your friends, or you're in a shared accommodation, or if you're working, just being able to kind of let people around you know when is your exam, what kind of special needs you may need having during that period, planning your social visits if you're living with your partner and kids, that it's not going to be a time where mom and dad can take out large chunks of time to have a social event at home. Sometimes the birthday party, events may just get postponed, or sharing of household chores, being able to, they're simple things, but it's important. And then actually understanding that, while you've studied, it would be good if you had notes and other things that you start compiling them. So you're not rewriting and starting with a base level. You've already got things. If it's an open book exam, understanding the tactics of an open book exam, talking to people who have understood it. And, people often think it's so easy, but it's one of the toughest things that I've found. Looking at old exam papers, reaching out to the library, getting the right resources. And I believe, Tevita, you've got some good information about academic support that you'll be that our friends at the University of Melbourne have shared with us kindly, and you'll be talking a little bit about it at the end of this session. But can you just give us a bit of an overview?
Yeah, definitely. As part of GSA's strategic plan, that we look to engage with our partners, and one of our big partners is the university. So thankfully, for the last couple of weeks, the University Academic Skills area has been working with us to provide more resources and services to graduate students at the university. So later on, I'll be talking about some helpful tips to talk about getting through exam stress or preparing yourself, and some other resources, some great apps and other resources from the university which are available to students. So I'll be talking about that.
Fantastic. And just to remember, I know that the university has moved some of those on online platforms. Be familiar with, how do I do an online exam? Do I need to talk to somebody about it? How's my computer? Is it going to, do I need to borrow something from my family, or can I access the university's Chromebook? Or, if I don't have internet access, and now that you can move out of your house, can I actually go to some place where I can find the quiet time to sit down and do my exam? And even on that day, ensuring that you have your food, water, and everything planned for the 2 hours that you'll be sitting for the exam to write your exam. And I think even during studying, ensuring that you do have the quiet space, identify when your brain actually works very well, and that's the time when you should be studying. So I think managing the stress part is the most important thing. You'll be less stressed if you know how your time leading up to the exam is planned properly. And I think, Tevita, you were saying you're going to have good tools. I think use a paper, a pencil, a calendar, your Excel spreadsheet, your Gantt chart, whatever suits you. And if whatever works for you, be it sticky notes on the wall, it can be things that you use on a butcher paper and stick it onto your fridge, or something that, or talking to someone about having a buddy whom you can plan chunks of studying so that you can revise together. Having it's a great time to talk about what we are offering in relation to study space, because we can't offer the TSS space. So what do we have in place of that? What have you organized, Tevita?
So yeah, we'll talk about later, but we actually have a study buddy program on at the moment. So a big shout out to the representation team that have set up this program to encourage groups of students from the same faculty to study together. And so there's a little bit of competition going on where you need to record your hours and send it back to the team, and then there's essentially the group that's studied the most over the period is rewarded in some capacity, but also it gives the opportunity to share ideas with other students which you might not already have been connected with, but they're definitely primarily in the same faculty as you. So I'll get Andrew in the background to send through the link on the chat just to those that are involved, just to have a look at that. But it's such a great program, and we've got such a huge intake at the moment. So yeah, very, very happy with that.
Fantastic. And I think it's really important to actually understand that, studying has a skill where if you have chapter wise, if you have 10 chapters and you kind of understand, calibrate them into the content of the one that you need to put a lot of attention to, the one that you are familiar with, the one that you may just need a quick revision, trying to tackle that in a systematic time a ratio for before you plan your exam, that helps. Second thing is also, even if you've allocated 2 hours, be prepared to ask yourself, in the 2 hours I may need 5 breaks. That's perfectly fine, because if you have your 5 breaks and you're concentrating the remaining part of the time, you actually can learn very well. I think the other things that I have kind of read over the weekend and I thought that's good to share is, some people like to write bullet points and, memorize through points. Some people like visuals that help you to learn. Some people just discussing with your friend. I've even heard some people recording and keeping an eye on, record the content onto the important points, and just while you are on the treadmill or relaxing or something, just going through those points again is a good strategy. Or learning, I don't know, if you need to kind of remember certain articles, just using the key clues of how you remember those articles. And I think also is, reach out to your faculty, reach out to academic support, and they're the best people to kind of help you to go through it. I think when you are talking about stress, it's actually the pressure that you put on yourself. It's actually, apart from, I mean, I think when you're a kid, you're always having your parents who think like, have you studied? Have you prepared? I mean, you may have outgrown that age, but then there is always the kind of, the peer pressure of people saying, well, I finished all this and what about you? And I've completed that. Trying to kind of not put other people's expectations on you and being realistic with yourself, and trying to do the best that you can rather than what other people expect you to do. And I think by talking to people who put pressure on you, that's not going to be helpful at all. And sometimes giving people that message and saying, these kind of conversations really stress me, I think it's very, very helpful, because I know very well that if I start hearing, how amazing everybody is, and, I'm kind of struggling to keep in pace with them, it just does not help me to actually even deal with my own abilities and my strength. And, your strength becomes your weakness, because some people are people who may study better just, 10 days before the exam, have a structured study, and they may be just people who like to read and make notes. But if somebody says, oh, I've got detailed notes for this and I've detailed notes for that, and start thinking, oh, you haven't done that, that's going to be really hard for you, all those comments actually put a lot of pressure on you. So being able to understand one size does not fit all, and putting pressure on yourself often leads to failure. And it's likely that the worst can happen, that, sometimes you may have a head start and you may be going really well, and there may be a family issue, there may be other issues. Having that head start helps you to deal with it, but also realizing that things happen and you've got to deal with it, and taking support and, being able to aware of your stress factor is one of the strategies to deal with pressure. And I cannot emphasize more that, stress is not often dealt with overconsumption of alcohol or any substance that is not helpful for your body. So I think, I want to remind all of us that we do tend to kind of use this, I mean, particularly with the pubs opening up, that, it's good to be aware of your limitations, being aware of responsible drinking or responsible use of any material that you kind of inject in your body is going to impact your physical and mental health. And it's important to seek help if you're abusing it. So Tevita, any other tips from your end?
Yeah, look, I think, I mean, we talked about it briefly. I mean, I'm going to talk to also some other part of the tips is about the food and that you put, or the substances you use over this time to help manage your stress levels. And I think one of the key messages will be moderation, and just taking it easy, because at the end of the time, at the end of the day, you need all of your faculties, your physical, your mental, your emotional faculties in good order to get you through this time. I think it's important to understand to share the load between it all and look after yourself.
I mean, that leads to very well to this point that I was talking to you. I don't know, even, when GSA has to put an application together for a funding submission, or I think we all know our collective strength is always far more than the individual strength. So if you have, and Tevita will talk to you a little more about the study buddy system, is that if you can get a group of people who can work together in a positive frame of mind, and they're people who actually love to be connected, there are different ways to study together. Sometimes you don't have to do that everything together, even a phone call at the end of the day to have a brief chat about a concept or a difficult, about how you would tackle a particular essay, or if you were given, there were multiple choices. I know that, many faculties have a lot of multiple choices questions that are given, and going through them on a regular basis together, like a trivia, helps people together. Get together and take the books outside. Like, don't make it all a room cooked activity. Sometimes just sitting in a fresh park and reading something out in the sun in your veranda, and trying to change your home setting to be much more, to give it a bit of variety. You'll notice that you'll notice a bit of change in the way you're studying. And also I don't know, I find it very helpful that when you don't understand a concept and there's a person who understands the concept really well, just listening to them and being able to understand of the way they analyze it for you, and then say to them, can I just repeat what you've said, and can I just share my understanding of what you have shared with me? That conversation itself helps you to embed that very clearly. And also is, if you're good at even supporting, some people are very good at coaching, we call it the brain wealth, and that is a good way to study yourself. Like revising with other people or coaching other people is also one very good way of actually coaching yourself. So I think before I move to this, I wondered, where will people get information about the study buddy system that is there?
Yeah, so Andrew's kindly put the link in the chat, but on our website, if you go to our main page and you go into the study and work area, it's down there under study skills. It's one of the last options there, in the study buddy programs there for you to look at. You can apply online through the form, and it gives you a little bit more details. So we're looking to register groups of 6 to 8 students in the same discipline faculty. And look, if you don't have anyone that a group yet, we may be able to find an existing group that from your faculty to let you join in. And so we're looking to basically a friendly competition to complete the largest number of study hours. And there'll be a $20 supermarket voucher for per person for the winning group. So that's a little incentive, but also too, I think the biggest win there is that you are doing things together with others, and to be able to share the load and sort of have a chats about your experience or anything that's stressing you out related to study is probably a helpful place to start. So all the information is there on our website. And again, the link has been put in the chat.
Fantastic. And, I understand, because we may not have many attendees who are sharing, who will be attending, because I know you're busy and you'll be looking, and we noticed, we're very pleased that the engagement with our videos have increased significantly. Great that you're able to watch these videos in your own time. And, that's very reassuring for GSA, I think, because these are really particularly meant for people who find time a factor that makes things, a bit difficult. I think I just want to talk a little bit more, Tevita, about, the use of substance, because I think, there are so many things in the market, and I know we ourselves run this Swat Whack week, and that coffee one is fantastic. It's a great way to kick your day and start, but always remember that too much of caffeine is not either going to help you, or, any cigarettes, or I've got a few things that I did not want to mention, but I think it's important to talk about medication too. And I know that, whenever I pass through some of the chemist shops or the alleys about, concentrate more, and there are all these tablets that are prescribed for you, that is there. Please ensure that you're taking good, you're just not buying things off the shelf and taking things that are just because you're not coping with the factor that you've not recognized stress is a factor. And I just kind of think looking after your body and your soul is the most important factor in dealing with stress. And it's okay when people ring you with things that you can't take on just to please others, just to keep saying, oh, you know what, I'm happy to do this for you, and I'm happy to do that for you. You don't have to be happy to do things for people when you are not coping yourself. And it's okay to say to people, you know what, I'm sorry, I can't deal with it this week. I'm busy with my exams. And if it's not earth shaking or, something that's going to kind of end the world, it can wait. Put yourself first, okay? And I think we are not here to give you a prescription of what you should take or what you shouldn't take. All we're saying to you is that, your body is a little, I like calling it a temple with no connotation to any religion, but a little place, a little house where you protect your body and soul. And that needs nurturing and reinvigorating. And it's important to look after it. And that's when you think about getting good sleep, eating good food, and keep moving. I love running, but people, keep yourself active. And the moment you remain active, you notice that it's one of the mechanisms to help you with stress. I know last Friday we had a very stressful day, at work. We had these important meetings to go through and stuff like that. And I know I was kind of telling Tevita how stressed I am, that thing. And I think just taking that 20 minutes and just going for a brisk run and coming back, I actually felt, oh my God, I am able to see the world in a much different way. Some of you may just want to put on some music and dance. Some of you may jump on and go for a good walk. But I think physical activity, or trying to walk with someone, keeping the social distancing, or where you don't have to keep your social distancing, don't do that. But being able to keep yourself physically active, do the yoga, join GSA's activities, it's a beautiful time to walk down the river, or, go for a walk in the park. Winters are cold, but you have crispy mornings too. So soaking in the sun is such a good way to keep yourself healthy. And I understand, Tevita, there are some good recipes too that you're putting up on this month for healthy. I know we had a beautiful soup last, which I tried very well. And then I noticed you've got some recipes that you put up on the website or Facebook. Can you kind of talk us through a little bit about that, Tevita?
Yeah, sure. So every week we put out recipes. I mean, previously we put out recipes to even have with your children, so your children can get involved and have some fun while putting some meals together. But more recently, our recipes being put out there to have good, healthy, simple, tasty foods that are accessible to most. And so, yeah, so it's important that you keep alert on our social media channels, because that's where we post them. So even if you go back to our Facebook page now, you'll be able to see the previous recipes that we're putting out. And on Thursdays generally tend to be the day we put them out. So look out for the next one coming up soon.
And I think the same thing is about eating regularly. And when you're having a lunch break, don't keep your books in front of you and try to toss the books while you're eating. You know, enjoy your meal. Being able to, if you know, sleep is something which we often talk about. Is that often I think there's enough literature on the website of how to get good sleep. But I think be aware that if you're not getting enough amount of sleep and it's becoming a pattern, that you seek some support from people who can offer you that assistance in doing so. And, you know, remember that, I mean, I like to leave people with this understanding that, you know, exams are important. Getting through them is very important. And we want, as at GSA, we want to support people to achieve their academic excellence. But, you know, resitting an exam or deciding to defer or making a different choice is not the end of the world. You know, life is far more beautiful than thinking one judgment of a particular exam actually defines you. It doesn't define you. It's actually you'll notice that, you know, you actually have a lot of options in life. And once you know that, okay, I'm going to set my heart on this and I'm going to do my best and get there, great. But some of us may not be able to do that, and that's fine too. And I recognize that, you know, there are many factors currently in our environment that actually impacts us. So for example, I've been speaking to a lot of my family and friends whose mental health issues that they were coping really beautifully. And then suddenly the impact of social isolation has created this mental fatigue, and the fear of changing again creates emotional, you know, upheaval. And being able to recognize that is very, very important. So I think before we move to, you know, the important part of it is to understand that, you know, as we always say, is talk to your family and friends, seek professional support, contact your GP and doctor, or talk to your lecturer or your faculty. And being able to contact agencies like Beyond Blue and Lifeline is very important. A phone call to one of those agencies when you have no one to talk to you can make a lot of difference. And think of the people who love you. Think of the people whom you live for. Think of the people who have unconditional love for you, and think of the whole life ahead of you. And this one exam is not going to determine what you are. So I think seeking help is important, really very important. Now, people who listen to this video must have felt, my God, I spent an hour listening to this, but this is all what I knew. And often, I think sometimes at GSA, we do talk about this because we do cater to 30,000 students almost across the graduate faculty. And each of us have anxiety in a different form, and some of us have no anxiety. That's fine. But GSA is actually here for anyone who needs that additional support or that extra helping hand to get through the next obstacle. And that's what we're here for. And I think it's really important to ask ourselves, what am I here? What is GSA here for? We're here talking to people whom some of you who are listening to this may take this video and help another friend, okay? Some of you may just recap it and think, wow, this was a good thing to listen to. Yeah, I got it. I'm on the right path. Some of you may take your time at a very distressed moment and say, I'm just going to listen to this video. And some of you may not look at it. But I think it's just to say to you, 1-800 number of GSA Help is always there for you to pick up the phone and talk to us, where we can guide you with that support. And Tevita, I was wondering if you could assist in talking a little bit about just summarizing what we have, what you think in relation to managing exam stress would be.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Rachna. So essentially, this part now is more of a recap. So it's probably just readdressing some of the topics that we've talked about. So we talked about feeding your brain and body well. So this comes down to nutrition. So making sure that you're taking in the right foods at this time. Now, I'm just going to go through the list of what the university has worked in conjunction with reachout.com. Now, for them, they're talking about, some of the great foods are the proteins like fish, meat, eggs, poultry, legumes, nuts and seeds, dried beans, lentils. These are all great types of protein to help with the brain. So it creates those brain chemicals that improves your mood. So bear in mind that proteins are important. Antioxidants, so fruit, vegetables, including berries, pomegranate juices there. So these antioxidants help delay or prevent certain effects of aging of the brain. So again, the brain, big part of the organ that we need, especially during this time. Omega-3, again, oily fish, flax seeds, some flaxseed oil, eggs, chicken or beef. So these omega-3s help improve your mental health. Cholesterol. I mean, too much cholesterol is absolutely not great, but we actually need cholesterol because it creates cells that send messages to the rest of the bodies. So dairy and egg yolks. I'm going to try and say this properly. Mono unsaturated fats. So avocados, nuts, olive oil, canola oil, peanut oil. These are great sources of monounsaturated fats. It improves your memory, actually. So you can work harder, better, faster, stronger. And caffeine is here. Now, look, we always talked about moderation, and we are running a support mechanism through GSA through our coffee support. So for the weeks of SWOT-VAC, exam 1, 2, and 3 weeks, we are providing free barista coffees to our students. So please check out our social medias. I know that we actually sold out this week, and we're going to look to increase numbers for next week. So keep abreast of our messages that come through our Facebook, because you'll be able to get your free coffee, which you can collect at a local cafe, because a lot of us are working from home at the moment. So caffeine's there, but all small dosages to help you stay focused. Now, also, we mentioned before, substances. There is no such thing as a wonder drug that helps us get through these times. So please be mindful that whatever you take, be it caffeine or other things to help you get through this time, there is an after effect. And now, so you need to be able to moderate anything that you're helping yourself with. And lastly, water. Now, we know that the brain is 73% water, so it's just like you need the water to keep our body functioning. And so with your breaks, tea tends to dry you out, coffee tends to dehydrate you, so water is one of the best sources there to help you get through things. Now here's some great swapping tricks the reachout.com guys have put through together is, we've got some foods here that you can swap with other foods to help you get all those nutrients you need to get through this time. So we looked at, how about swapping processed cereal with maybe porridge topped up with fruit and walnuts, swap biscuits or muffins with whole grain crackers with cheese and tomato, frozen pizza, let's swap that with homemade whole wheat pizza. Burger and fries, yum, but let's swap that with maybe a steak and a salad if you eat meat. Chocolate and lollies, come on, why don't we swap that with fresh or dried fruit? Ice cream, swap it with yogurt and berries. Potato crisps, so this is the snacking stuff. Why don't you swap that with a handful of nuts to get you through those little breaks? Energy drinks, so obviously this time of year, for the exams, energy drinks are on the number one list or on people's desks. Please try and swap that for a fruit smoothie. And coffee, we talked about it. Look, it's inevitable that people look to coffee to get through the days. There's green or other herbal teas that might be able to suffice in that sense. So
fantastic. And you'll be putting up these resources on our website too, where people can access all this information?
Yeah, absolutely. So with Andrew's help, we'll put all this information up to help people get to the information they need. So I'm going to try and get through this. So sleeping. So we need to monitor our sleep. And there are different ways you can do this. So some people actually like to use the apps to help them get through, either get to sleep or help moderate their hours of sleep. So ensuring that you have some routine, because the sleep is a time when we sort of rely on to rebuild our capacity to focus. So making sure that we look at sleeping as part of our tasks. and doing that. So being active. This one is obviously we talk about exercise, and so it does improve your sleep. It gives you the energy levels you need. Now, GSA has put together a GSA Run Club on Strava. So if you're an avid runner, swimmer, climber, GSA has a club on Strava, and we've already got members signed up. And I know some of our council members are on that club, and I know that in particular at the moment we have one of our council members leading the way with her running. So congratulations to her. So yeah, if you want, it's a great way to stay engaged, track your activity, and even it's almost a way to stay social. So staying social there is also just as important. Reaching out to family and friends, and Rachna talked about it before, taking the time, because it does help us refocus. And some people think it could be a part of a procrastination level, but actually it helps us readjust. So if we're deep inside our study and we're focused, sometimes to take that break is to speak to someone or send a message, and reach out to others, because it does help with your stress. Planning and preparing. Now, look, literally sounds boring, I know, but this is the part we talked about making sure you schedule everything in. There are different ways and mechanism resources that I will put up through Academic Skills of some study planners, also to the Pomodoro mechanism of studying is a well-proven technique. And what that is that there's sprints of studies. So 25 minutes of study with a 5-minute break, 25 minutes of study with a 5-minute break. And you do that 4 times, so within the hour, and you get a 10 to 15-minute break. So if you want to try that technique, we'll send some detail after the session, but Pomodoro Technique is what people have been using at universities for a while to help them. It focuses for a short period, then it takes a small break. So that's an option for you. Scheduling the downtime. Now, it's so funny because we always get a bit anxious about, oh no, I probably shouldn't have watched that TV show, or I should be doing my studies. Well, like anything, if you put in your schedule or your calendar, why not put some downtime in that schedule for you? So allow yourself that 15-minute, half an hour, 1 hour break, but put it in as part of your plan, because you have to do these things to get you through your stress, and it's normal. It's actually, it's almost like balancing yourself out. So put it in your schedule, because then it's like, oh, what have you been up to? Well, actually, in 5 minutes, I've got to have my downtime for 40 minutes. And just, it makes sense. And it's about the planning as well. Now, watching what you're thinking. This links into negativity. Now, we spoke about this earlier, is that, hassle of exams. It's like, it becomes a negative thought. I think you need to maybe focus on the strengths. And be kind on your strengths, and be kind to yourself, and you can make mistakes, but essentially you've got to work through it. So don't undermine yourself or your success during this time. Setting daily intentions. Now, this is a good one, because you don't have to, you can set out your whole 3 weeks of exams and your study, but saying, okay, what am I going to do today? What are my intentions, so that you can have those small wins? And that's about staying, positive. Keep it simple. Like, I'm going to make healthier choices today, or I will nail my studies this afternoon so I can hang out with my friends later. I think that's part of it, is, setting those daily intentions. Now, start a mindfulness practice. Now, mindfulness is about taking the time, reflection, calm. We've got some great apps which have been recommended by the university. So I'll talk about that in the next slide. But, setting up some, you put it in your schedule, this is my mindfulness session, whether it's the first thing in the morning or last thing before you go to sleep or during your lunch break, put it in there, and it's just about being in that moment and just taking that time. Now, and the last one is keep it real. So setting your goals. So making sure that, because the pressure's on, creating your best personal goals, and to help you focus on the process of the exams rather than the outcomes. Look, it's we know about exams. They're going to happen. We need to do them to get through this. So at least coming to terms with this and just setting those goals, realistic goals, and so you're not putting too much pressure on yourself. So that's part of those 10 little recaps that we talked about earlier, but maybe just revising them and moving on to making sure they're part of your strategies. Now, I talked before about some great apps. So Smiling Mind and Headspace, great apps to use for mindfulness. And we can send the links out through the chat now or later on. The University of Melbourne Counselling and Psychological Service, so CAPS, they run some great opportunities to either workshops or resources on their web pages to deal with exam stress or anxieties. I talked previously about Reach Out. So Reach Out is a not-for-profit who has put some great materials about managing exam stress there. I talked previously about GSA's Study Buddy program, so the links there as well. So, getting to those groups of other students that are in the same boat as you and to be able to study together in groups. And I think that's one of those things. Isolation, as we all know, is challenging. And so, look, doing things together with others, even if it's remotely or in virtual space, does help deal with the stress. So, and another app there that, we just saw there was Forest. And it's interesting, that one there, it's called the Forest app, and I'll ask Andrew to send it through. The Forest app there is really interesting, is that it actually virtually grows a plant based on the work that you do, that you set your goals to. So, and if you don't do the work, the tree does not grow, and it actually links into a not-for-profit there. So this was shared to us by the Unimelb academic skills guys, and it's kind of a neat little app. So yeah, there's that. Also, moving on to other resources, is that the University of Melbourne has put up some great resources, as I mentioned. So wellbeing during exams. The other University of Melbourne support services. So Rasha talked about it previously, about if you're having difficulties with internet, or for some reason your laptop is broken down, they're loaning out Chromebooks, and you can 13Melb is the number to get through, or through any of our links to the university's Stop One services. The university also has some great resources about exam management. So looking for the timetable, making sure your timetabling is put together, and even some resources about scheduling, or exporting your exam timetable so you can print it out or put it on a whiteboard. And so it gives you that visual support in managing your time and your stress around exams. So that's basically all the resources there, and we'll make sure that when we put this up, we have links and other resources on the page to make it easy for you to access.
Oh, that's very, very comprehensive, and thank you for the good recap. And I guess I just want to emphasize to people is that the next 2 months are going to be pretty challenging for all of us. And, the fact that we are going to go into a space where some of us will be getting back to work, or will be looking at casual work. And I think the aim for us on every Tuesday morning would be to actually address some practical strategies can help you through the next phase. And I think the next week we have planned to support you in actually doing some simple strategies on how to look for jobs and how to apply for jobs. I think we're going to, is that right, Tevita, that we're actually starting a process of, while you're doing your exams, and there is that support offered to you, and Tevita will talk to you about what's coming up this week. But before I want to let you know that this month, we're really going to focus on two very important issues, 2 or 3 important issues. One is how to support you during exams and, this period of winding up with your semester 1, and how you can do that. Included with that would be our representation team will continue to, do our advocacy and campaign in relation to some pending issues are on online on placements, as well as the quality of online education. Apart from that, I think from we want to focus a bit on how we reach out to you all to support you to get some casual work, or your career objectives of how to prepare for graduate positions, or how to retain your employment, or if you've been impacted by employment, how you can be supported in dealing with any legal issues. So please watch Alan's from the AMSU's services that provided an excellent webinar last week on employment law, changes to employment law and tenure law. But I think the most important thing is we are going to talk about a sensitive issue, and the issue of family violence in our community. When we talk about our community, our university is a part of our community, and those workshops are about recognition about that behavior. And in one way, it's an age-old pandemic that lives in our society, and we've got to be proactive about it. So Tevita, would you be able to finally tell us what's coming up this week? And of course, thank you to people who've watched the video or you've attended today. I hope this is helpful. If it's not helpful for you, at least use it as a resource when someone is seeking your help. Come back to it when you are ready. But Tevita, a bit of a summary from you of what's happening tomorrow and on Thursday.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Rachna. So yeah, as you mentioned, understanding family violence tomorrow. On Thursday, we're going to run a session linked to exam preparation and tips again. So the support from our friends at Academic Skills. And Fridays, for the next 4 weeks, we're going to maintain our Feel Good Fridays. So 3 p.m., we're going to have local artists streaming live into our Facebook page. And yeah, so this week we've got a special guest from the Solomon Islands, so look out for him. If you need the details, it's all on our Facebook page. So absolutely the best way to keep up to date with what's going on with our GSA and how we're supporting our students is through Facebook. And I mentioned previously about our coffee support. So be on the lookout for those alerts because we're releasing more vouchers later in the week for next week. We also have our meditation mindfulness sessions running throughout the week, and obviously our drop-in dance sessions. So I failed to mention before, but staying active as well during this exam period, whether you're running or just going for a walk or signing up to our drop-in dance sessions. So run by Christine from our student engagement team is 30 minutes there where you can jump into the feed and sort of dance with Christine there, sort of shake off all those unwanted thoughts and get the heart pumping. So be on the lookout for that. So that's coming over the week. But yeah, as mentioned by Rachna, a lot of our focus is, mindfulness, exam techniques, career supports, a transition to work, looking at all those aspects of, looking for jobs or helping you with a cover letter, interview skills, working on your LinkedIn profile, and even a guest from NTU to talk to us about workplace rights and what they can do to support postgraduates.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tevita. But before I go, I actually wanted to plug in to say, please jump onto our website. We have a beautiful new team, GSA council members who have come on board, and I think very passionate young people who are very keen on working on graduate issues. And just to give them a big shout out to all of them, congratulations on the wing. But Jeremy Waite is our new president. Emily DeWind is our vice president. Lillian Day is the general secretary. Matthew Harper Gome will be leading the activities officer. Catherine Allingham is our women's officer. Muddagouni Hui Ali Lim is our international officer. We have Ruby Gardner Russell, who is our health and welfare officer. We've got Mia Zentari, who will be looking after the education and research. The LGBTIQ officer is Lauren Taylor, and the Executive Support Council, who will be supporting particularly my role, will be Tessa God, Stefan, and Theo. And Catherine will be joining us as a General Council member with him. So a beautiful team, along with Fia, who will be Fia Hamid Waka, who will be also General Council members. I really look forward to working with them, and please, their contact details are on our website. Reach out to them and have discussions about what you think GSA can do or what you loved GSA to continue to do, and that helps us plan better. Thank you so much from all of us at GSA here.
Thank you.